Hello there and welcome back to The Closet Historian and back to collections management. This video is part 2 of my entire hat collection. I'll go ahead and put a card up to part 1 here, and you can also find the link to that in the description. But this is the second half of my entire collection of hats, and I hope you enjoy seeing me talk through them, do a little show and tell, and place them into some new storage. But I have another whole box of hats to get through here, so let's keep on diving in. This is mostly the 40s ones. I'm going to move these from this. There's a box here. I don't think you can see that. There's a box here. This is the old like IKEA cardboard box that of course is not archival, and moving these 50s hats into here. And I do have one more archival box because I think this will fill up quite quickly here, unfortunately. But I do have a couple of feather hats, this one being very fun. This is a navy blue wool base hat, and it is Serrano, made in France. Serrano, yes. It does have a union label and it's marked B on there as well. But this is just covered in what I think are probably rooster feathers. They're like iridescent rooster feathers. It does have a hat elastic in here, but it's lost a lot of its juice. It's elastic juice. But this kind of just sits on the head like this. And of course, again, is going to blend in with my hair quite a lot. But the iridescence of the feathers was just so fun that I thought it would be nice. It's like one of those things that you can't see from far away, but once you get up close, if you were close to me and speaking to me in real life, you might be able to see the iridescence of these feathers. I just love black with iridescence, or like oil slick kind of finishes, and this is kind of oil slick feather hat. But I would say this one is from the 1950s or 60s, and it does have a pretty good like built up shape on it. It's a little bit clamp like. It's wired and blocked, and it has a very actually like fine. The wool of this is a nice like velour wool. So interesting that it was made out of such a nice wool only to be covered completely in feathers. Here is a ribbon 1950s hat. This one is made out of like folded, it's like a straw-ish ribbon, like some sort of a horsehair on like a net and wire base. This is made out of a lot of 1950s hats. You'll see this actually, 1950s and 60s hats. They're made out of sculpted wire, but the wire is covered in velvet. So that's how this one is done. It's got velvet wire, and then everything is built up on top of that. I'm not sure how to make these. I need to learn because it would be really great to know how to make hats like this. This one does have a very, very soft ivory blush colored veiling with it. It does have a tear, nice big tear in the veil up here in front. So I'll probably be wearing this with like the veiling arranged as opposed to down over my face, which is kind of the way I get around that. I try not to buy things where the veil is messed up. I usually will just take them off if this has happened, and like either replace the veil with new veiling or just take the veiling off, because so much of this is like probably a silk veil. It feels very fine, so much of that is lost to time, of course. But this is a very fun, intricate hat here with all this folded, interconnected ribbon. Again, something I think I can wear with my 1950s suiting. I think this would look really nice with my navy blue Lillian suit, this suit here. I think this hat would go very well with that. Then of course also like any 1950s dress. I think I have like a plain black 1950s like sophisticated pencil skirted dress with like this and then ivory gloves. I think would be very pretty. So, you know, clearly I need to make a lot of lunch dates in my future once I'm allowed to leave the house again. And here is another wool hat. Maybe I'll do one box of the 50s ones with wool and one box with the other. That's an idea. Where to put this? You wait here. Oh, these are more 50s hats. That's a problem. I also keep random strands or like yards of hat veiling around. So like if I pin on one of my hats, I can always just tie on veiling as well. And I just tie it like that. People sometimes ask me like how I arrange my veiling. I just tie it in a bow like behind my head, or like tie it in a knot behind my head. So like if I'm already wearing a hat or if I'm not wearing a hat, just tie it like that, and like yes, it sticks up in the back, but I think that's kind of fun, and you're ready to go. Obviously, if you're wearing like a sticky lip gloss, this isn't going to work, and sometimes if you're wearing false eyelashes, this doesn't work. But I can't wear falsies anymore because my eyes have decided that they don't like mascara, let alone eyelash glue, so we have a strange relationship going on with makeup in general right now. This again is another one of the this might be the very first vintage hat I ever purchased, actually. And again, you can see it's that cornflower and daisy and poppy combination, and like whatever these yellow flowers are supposed to be. And again, they have like little clover flowers here too, and forget-me-nots. This is such a cute hat. I have definitely worn this and been photographed. I have been photographed wearing this several times, but I just mean for my own blog. So again, this is a velvet covered wire frame on this hat. I think you can kind of see that, and then the little flowers are just glued and stitched on to this little wire frame. I've tried to make things like this before, but I should try again because this just cannot be that difficult to make. Honestly, it's just a little couple of twists of wire with flowers stuck onto it, but it's just like a little flower crown. This is like the 1950s version of a flower crown, and I just think it's so cute. I love this hat. One of the first ones I ever bought. Again, I think this was under $20. I think this was like $12 or $15, and so cute. I can talk about this other flower hat I have sitting here. This one is again like some sort of a net base. Feels like some sort of like stiffened net with a wire and velvet covered wire situation. This one is a original WM Silverman. I don't even know what that says. It's got 2 Silverman labels, and it has a Nancy Netters of Shreveport label inside here too. And this is another one where it has loops of elastic and combs to pin it into your hair. But looks kind of like this when it's on. Of course, it's a bit Christmassy right now with my hair being green and all that. But I have worn this one again with my Lillian. I wear that Lillian suit quite a lot, but you know, if you had a Lillian, wouldn't you wear it a lot too? So I think I have worn this one with that before. I'm not sure if I have pictures of me wearing it with anything else, but of course a burgundy is quite versatile and nice, and I can wear it with burgundy gloves. And now I do have burgundy suede shoes thanks to Bait having a sale. Dangerous. But this is another fun, very floral 1950s, 60s hat. Again, this is a, you know, later half of the 50s into the 60s hat, just basing that off of the shape of it. I think if it were 40s, it'd be a little bit more round, and this one's kind of this like banana shape that goes across the head a little bit more. I mean, it doesn't look anything like a banana. Where am I getting that? But my gut tells me this is more of a late 50s, 60s hat. Let's see, we have all these other friends. You can't see what's in front of me, but it's a lot of hats. This is just a very small, slight little cap in this lovely gray-blue color. I really like this because it looks like a star here, you can see, and it reminded me of the stars that Thierry Mugler used a lot in his branding and like perfumes and stuff like that, and just kind of is an emblem of Mugler. Of course, this hat is from the 1950s or 60s maybe, like at the latest, but even though it's genuine vintage, I think it would work well for a kind of more of a retro 80s Mugler inspired outfit as well. Fun like cocktail hat for sure. And the nice thing about a lot of 50s hats is that they really clamp onto the head. So this has a matching hat pin that came with it, but I really don't even need a hat pin. It's not going anywhere. It stays on really well. It just kind of clamps on itself. This one does seem to be a blocked buckram and then wired around the edges. So it can't be too hard to make something like this. So I really need to figure out and work out how to do that. There's some staining up close, but nothing too bad. Again, I've mentioned recently, I think in the catalogs, I was talking about how I don't buy hats that need a lot of restoration or have a lot of damage because I'm not skilled enough to repair most millinery problems. So I try and buy things that are in quite good condition still. Who's next? More 50s things. This is another very typically 50s hat here. This one is like a stiffened linen sort of textile here. I'm not sure. It looks like it's probably a rayon made to look like linen. That's why it's so shiny like this. I don't know if it's picking up on camera how shiny this is, but this is another little clamp style, and this is wired, velvet covered wire again to clamp this onto the head, and it has little berries and flowers, like a very small spray of them, and then a single chic navy feather here in front. I have worn this in photographs on my blog before, so I will include photos of me wearing this hat, but I think it's very chic and nice with a navy blue dress, or if I had an ivory suit, which I am on the hunt for, because this reads very 50s to me. Like, you can get away with wearing this in the 50s and 60s, but really it looks a little bit out of place with a 40s outfit for sure. Here's another 50s hat that I immediately fell hard for once I saw it. I have a thing about rainbow things, you know, no particular reason. I just love rainbow things extra much, and this is another like very typical just 1950s kind of cap style, and again can be worn with anything because it is rainbow. But with a gray suit or a black suit, I think it is quite fabulous. And again, I think I have worn this in photographs before, so I will try and include some photographs. Here we have another 1940s, like almost like a very furry velvet touch wool hat. It does say imported fur velvet. I don't exactly know what that means. It looks like wool that's been brushed to look more like velvet. It's a very velvety wool surface, and it has this almost, again, scalloped kind of shape here, and just sits on the back of the head like so. I have worn this one in pictures again. I keep saying that, but it's true. So here's some photos of me in this one. And this I bought after falling in love with all of the like more standing style hats in that Rita Hayworth film CoverGirl, because there's like this one scene where she goes to a modeling audition and everyone's outfit in that scene is amazing. And if I could just like, if I could only wear clothes from one scene in one film for the rest of my life, I would probably pick that scene, because it's all just like suiting and fun 40s accessories. Oh, it's so good. Who's next? We have this hat, which was a gift from one of my patrons, and it's a good example of this style of 1940s hat where they have these rings in the back. So often toy hats or tilt hats from the 1940s have rings of wire sewn onto them, and this is so that it can kind of clamp on to your head like this, and it's an amazing design choice. I think more hats need to have these rings, especially because you could use a bobby pin to really secure that back there, but like a hat elastic cannot compare to this. I think this is much better. And a lot of times you'll see them with like flowers sewn onto the ring as well to hold it onto the back of the head like this. But this one again has a little bit of veiling and is super, super cute, especially with suiting. I did wear this one in Millionaire Milliner, I think, as well. So this one has made an appearance here on the channel before. But good for any times I wear brown as an accent color, which I do often enough, especially with 40s things. But a beautiful hat, a great example of a 1940s style. This one is Glenover from Henry Pollock Inc. From Fifth Avenue, New York, 100% wool. So a gorgeous hat and a wonderful gift to receive, so thank you. It's another little 50s kind of wired edged hat, and it just sits on the head like so. I thought with like my green color hair, this hat matched quite well with my green accent of my hair here, with like a green brooch on a black dress, with like green gloves, or purple, you know? Can you see what I'm saying? But it's another very fun little 1950s hat. This one's just lined with some fabric, and the outside is like a linen, embroidered linen with rhinestones and beads and things sewn onto it. It's just kind of like a funny little like commas sort of shaped, but again, just probably like a piece of buckram inside. Then the edge is wired, and then there's Petersham along the inside. Or no, this is grosgrain. Petersham and grosgrain. They're very similar. This one has no label in it, so it possibly is a homemade hat. And we need to learn how to make them here at home, so I'll work on that. We can talk about some like more evening or cocktail hats. The difference there really, I mean, is just kind of the formality of the fabric. This one is from The Hat Box, and it's a kind of clamp style again from the 1950s. So it has this like peaked back, and this has a lame silver and white fabric mixed with a satin, and then there's little beads and pearls sewn all over. But this is kind of an evening style hat, so you would wear this in the evening time, especially with a suit. Like, you know, Carol, I think, wears a couple of evening hats. Carol wears a lot of great hats. And yes, I very much like the film Carol. But this is a very fun cocktail hat that I can't wait to wear out for cocktail hour, with like a black blouse or like a black dress with a pearl brooch to like match, and like white gloves again. You know, you see where I'm going with this? This one would also make a very good like bridal hat as opposed to a tiara, but a lot of times in the 1950s and 40s and the past in general, a lot of times people got like married during the day and like would wear like a nice suit or like a nice tea-length kind of dress as opposed to a full formal gown. So something like this with a suit I think would be very nice for a wedding. Not that I'm getting married anytime soon, so, but I'll wear it for other occasions personally. But I do have another nearly identical hat. This one is more of like a square shape. Instead of the back being peaked, it has like 2 points. But this was like the black version of that hat. It has, again, the same sort of satin and lame intertwined, and this, again, is silver and black kind of net fabric on here. But again, just some little beaded and pearled accents. Just clamps onto the head like so. And wear it with, you know, your cocktail hour wear. Again, with a black suit for, like, dinner. Yes? I think so. One was $25, just so, you can kind of know the sort of prices I'm paying for these things, especially because I think you can very easily overpay for hats. There are some really great hats out there that are selling usually, you know, in the $150 to $200 range. You can see things like this even for that price, but you don't have to pay that price for these if you're willing to shop around and wait and take 10 years to build a collection. You can find things for a lot cheaper though. So there's no way I would be able to have this many hats if I wasn't bargain hunting the way I do. This one is another one that's almost an evening hat. It's this delicious shiny velvet here. This one is made by Frederick Original. Doesn't say where. It's got like lame on the inside and a little flower sewn in the center. Don't know what's going on there. It's got these lovely little silver doodads on the outside. There's another velvet covered wire clamp on hat. I did wear this one recently here on the channel for the ending of the cicada videos. My hair wasn't behaving that day very well, so I had to wear it like at kind of an angle, but these are meant to be worn more straight on, I think. This more 50s saucer little clamp style, I think, are meant to be worn kind of straight on the head, either forward kind of tipped like this or a little bit further back on the head, depending on how you arranged your hair. Of course, I arrange my hair differently every time because it comes out different every time. I don't have my set in stone, sadly enough. But gorgeous, gorgeous color on this one, of course. This one was a gift I received this last Christmas from my family. And it's a very beautiful hat that I will be happy to be wearing well into the future here. It's in very nice condition. It's such a soft, maybe silk velvet. It's a beautiful hat. And another cocktail hat. This one is navy blue with some veiling, but the veiling is very much destroyed. So it's just kind of going to be nestled along the top of this. But again, some sort of a buckram, well, not even, some sort of fabric construction with a wired edge in the velvet wire again, but covered completely in sequins. An iridescent and blue sequins here. So very fun for cocktail hour. I think I have an iridescent brooch and I have an iridescent handbag. Again, we all know like how I like to do matchy-matchy accessories, so I think this with a navy blue dress and then other iridescent accessories would be very fun. This is a little, again, 50s hat that I picked up for basically nothing on Etsy, but this is a little lace version, which is just like a ring of wire with lots of lace sewn onto it, and it's got like extra fringes at the side here. Again, it's kind of a little bit of a clamp style, and it does have beads all over it as well. You can't really see, but this is another good like going out to dinner hat. Would be good with like, I have a lace dress now, and this plus the lace dress would be like so nice for like a date night kind of situation. Not that I go on many dates, but maybe in the future. I don't know how I'm gonna meet these ladies, but we are pretty much out of room in this box. Probably can fit the little velvet clamp style here in this box as well. These kind of like cocktail hats and anything that's 50s and not wool. I've mentioned before here on the channel that I can't sit on the floor, which you'll notice I've been doing this whole video because my legs completely fall asleep, and my leg is completely asleep, yeah. Starting off with another hat I received this last Christmas as a gift, and this is a lovely rust colored hat, perfect for fall. Super excited to wear this. Paris Lazarus Cincinnati, so I'm assuming that it's Paris style, available in Cincinnati. This one does say imported velour, so maybe it was made in Paris, who knows. It's got some rhinestone doodads on the side. It's another just like 1950s clamp hat. This one's very Carol, honestly. With suits, with dresses, in the fall, in the winter. So cute, especially this rust color. The nicer thing about a lighter brown or any other colored hat is that it doesn't blend in with my hair too much. So, but of course now that I have my the streaks in my hair, I kind of have to plan color coordinating around the green or whatever color I have in my hair. I would like to get it blonde, by the way. The end goal is to have bleached blonde stripes, like Cruella de Vil or something, but I can't quite get there on my own. So once I can visit a salon and get a stylist to touch it up, maybe I'll have bleached blonde. But until then, it's going to be fun colors. Then we have a hat that I bought again at the Paris Street Fair Market here in Denver. This one's from Merrimack Hat Corporation. 90% wool, 10% protein fiber. Like silk? What other protein fiber is there? All right, well, why say protein fiber when you could just say what it is? It's this kind of round, buttony sort of style in a warm, light gray here. This one was $8. I remember because I think it was $8. Was it 8 or 12? Shoot, now I don't remember. I think I may have put this in a haul, but it was like, again, under $15, and I was really surprised and happy. I do believe this was $8. And again, no moth nibbles or anything. It's in perfect condition and will look super cute with all 1950s things. So happy to have it. The street market in question is in like the middle of the summer, so it was like sweltering, and I was like happy to be buying a wool hat for winter in the sweltering summer heat. And I do try and buy these little clamp 1950s hats in wool in, like, I'm trying to collect the whole rainbow. So here is one in red that just clamps on like so. And again, it's not going anywhere. They like clamp on really well. So they're convenient in that sense too, because I don't have to worry about pinning them into my hair much. But here's this one. Again, I have photos of me in this hat, so I will include those here as well. But another very classic 1950s hat, and I have quite a few of these little clamp styles for the 50s in various colors. Again, I'm trying to collect, you know, every color here. But here is another one of those in dark forest green as well. This one is genuine velour, imported fur, and it's just marked size 22 inside. This one is another one of those like velvet kind of combed furs. Super cute with these little arrow, pearl, and rhinestone embellishments on it. I think it goes this way. And again, very Carol. All you have to do is slip it onto your head. If only I had the grace of Cate Blanchett that came with it, but sadly not. But another gorgeous 1950s example that I just adore this color as well. I have a handbag that is this color, so I wear them together. Now I don't have a like plain navy blue one of those, but I do have a very epic bluish purple one of those. Again, this is a very like velvet touch velour. This one is from the May Company in Cleveland, Ohio, but this is kind of between navy and purple, which makes it a little bit hard to match with things, but like with a gray would be nice. But again, just clamps on with these iridescent sequins in the front. So much fun. I love this. I think this was a Christmas gift one year. I don't remember quite when that was, but several years ago I received this one for Christmas. And next up I have a very similar hat in black this time. Ooh, it looks like this one had veiling on it that has been cut off at some point, but it has this very fun beading on the front of it. This one, no label on the inside, just a size 23 label, that's all. But these beaded embellishments on the front are super pretty. So again, a relatively simple 1950s hat, but it has these gorgeous embellishments going on. Perfect with suiting or any of my black clothes or any colorful clothes that I'm going to be wearing black accessories with, which again, happens all the time, it's me. But another stunning 50s hat, what can I say, you know? I have a lot of these 50s clamp styles, but they all feel different to me. And I like this one, these ones where it has a little bit more elevated, they're not as flat. If they have a little bit more shape to them, I quite enjoy that as well. It's like Pokemon, you gotta catch them all. Next I have another little 1950s clamp hat, but this time in brown. This felt feels a lot more like suede. It's a lot more of a like smooth finish felt as opposed to being a fur or velvety kind of finish to it. It's a lot more smooth. It feels a lot more, I don't know, it feels less luxurious and more daytime, but like not in a bad way. This one is covered in I think this is called like vermicelli or something like that. I forget what this is called. This little squiggly pattern that they use to fill in space in a lot of vintage designs. A lot of times you see it in sequins on things, but here it is done in thread with like little knots on the surface, which if that had to be done by hand, I hope that was done by a machine in some way, because goodness, there's no way it was done by hand. I mean, come on. It must be done by a machine somehow. I'm just not sure how. But it's just this molded little felt hat, again with a wired edge, sort of a clamp style, just clamps onto the head like so. And if your hair was less of a mess, you know, it looked cute. This is a classic black beret, but instead of being like a knit beret or like a regular kind of felt beret, this one is molded or like blocked into shape, so it has a little bit of like a tilt shape on it. It was obviously made on a hat block, I guess, formed on a hat block is what I'm trying to say. This one says made in USA, Duchess Hat Works, 64% wool, something wool and casein, which I think is a type of wool, so wool basically is what they're saying. But this is a very nice classic little beret in like a molded shape. You can wear it in the back of your head, the forward. You can wear it tipped right forward on your head like this. You can wear a beret in many different ways, but good for when I'm feeling, you know, slightly French or like a beatnik, and want to be like the chic version of that, because a beret, while still chic, this is like the extra version. And see, who do we have left in here? We have this little 1940s hat. This one again is a more soft touch, velvet touch. You know, this might be a 1980s hat. Looking at the label now, the label looks quite 80s to me. It says Junior Seasons from New York, and just like the font choice and stuff like that, makes me think this might be a 1980s hat. Of course, it would work for 1940s things, just whoop, jauntily, like that perhaps. But this might be in like an 80s, 90s hat, which, you know, is quite late for hats because hats were on their way out completely at that point. Hats died off in the late 60s and into the 70s, like the majority of them. You still had like summer hats and things like that. And I mean, hats were still around, but they really took a nosedive once the youth culture kind of took over. But this might be like a kind of, if you imagine like Yves Saint Laurent couture, kind of that sort of 80s situation, that might be what this is. I haven't worn this one in a long time, and I haven't looked at the label in a long time, but that really does look, I don't know if you can see, much more like an 80s hat. Let me know, people who were around in the 80s. Were there things like this at that time, or is this just a really modern looking 40s hat label? This one was another gift that I received with those brown hats as well. This one is a black velvet kind of crown, almost like Tudor headband style. I can't put it on for you because talk about messing up my hair. This would really mess it up, but this is like a velvet crown, almost like gable headdress looking Tudor hat that I think is a 1940s, probably a late 30s or 1940s style here. Very unique to that era, and I really should figure out a way to wear this because it would be quite fantastic. I'd love a velvet dress to wear this with and really go for a kind of, I don't know, Tudor looking outfit. We have a few more 50s hats in here. This one is heavily beaded. This one is from Brown's Millinery Salon, wherever they were. It doesn't say where, but it's another 1950s clamp style hat with velvet covered wire, and it's a wool hat completely covered in black glass beads. Again, perfect for cocktail hour and perfect for me because it's black. One more beaded 50s hat here. Again, this one has that rainbow flare I like, with this red, green, and yellow, can't find the word yellow, ribbon underneath all of this iridescent beading. It's just so fun. I need to, I've seen handbags that have this iridescent beading on it, so I really should pick up a handbag that has that same beading sometime. I don't know which side is the front of this. I think it's this way. Like that. With these little fringy fun. But this is another gorgeous example of a 1950s hat. I just love it. I love iris or like iridescent beads in general, so rainbow plus iridescence. We're reaching capacity here. We're reaching capacity. Get another cocktail hat. You would think I go out for cocktails quite often. Of course not recently, but I don't really like going out drinking in general because the kind of places where you wear a cocktail hat is a different sort of establishment than many frequent in their 20s. This one is a John Wanamaker of Philadelphia, but I think this is supposed to go this way, which is, I think it's just so cute. It's just a little clamp-on piece of embellished felt, honestly, but you know, the 50s, they came up with all sorts of little hat designs. What I'm learning from going through all these hats is that I need to go on more dates so that I can get dressed up, honestly. Something to both fear and perhaps try in the future. Last two here. This one was actually a hat that was belonged to a member of my extended family and was gifted to me by my grandparents. This one is a Susie hat from Bullock's in Los Angeles. And my grandparents live in San Diego still, so this has probably only been owned by two people, the original owner and me. But this is a very fun kind of beret sort of style. It's just blocked felt, and then there's little cutouts in it that give it this texture. But again, like a nice soft camel color, kind of like a taupe or a dark ivory that I can wear with any suiting or dresses. I've worn this a lot over the years. I'll try and find a picture of me wearing it. I'm not sure if I have any photos of me wearing this, but I've worn this one quite a lot because it's very easy to wear and matches nearly everything. And then this is another newer edition from this year, here in 2021. This is another one of those little 50s kind of clamp styles in ivory. This one is from Doreen. It has like a little embellishment with some rhinestones and beads here, but I was just looking for a ivory felt hat to wear in the wintertime because I have some more summer appropriate or evening appropriate ivory hats, and I wanted something that felt more appropriate for daytime in the fall and winter, especially for like 1950s sort of holiday outfits where it's like very like red and white and like Christmassy, you know. I thought that this would go well with that kind of a look. So I'm going to go ahead and put headbands and like loose veiling into one of these shoe boxes again. So I have that vintage one that I was gifted. And then I have two others here. This one, I don't know, is it too wild? You'll have to let me know, because this is pretty intense. What do we think? Let me know your thoughts on the gold feather headband below. Could I wear this out is the real question. Like, I'm never ashamed to wear, like, even things like this, like wild hats. But this is like feather bunny ears headband situation. It might be too much even for me. And then I also have this little bow clamp hat, which is super cute. It's like formed in the shape of a bow. It has seen better days, but then again, this one was another family piece that was gifted to me by my grandparents. So of course, definitely hanging on to that. And it is very fun. I wish I had like a new version of this. But it's just like a big bow that you can clamp onto your head. But these will all go in here. So everything is in its new boxes home now, except for the hats that I have made myself, or fully made myself. I've retrimmed a couple of these hats that we went through, but the rest of these are all hats that I made myself. I think I wore this one in the Slytherin lookbook. This is a very Slytherin looking hat. But this is just a buckram construction. I made it the same way. All of these actually are made the same way that I made my bonnet, the Victorian bonnet that I made here on the channel, just in different shapes, of course. And this is actually would work quite well as a Victorian hat as well. But it's kind of like a ringmaster 1940s funny tilt hat, of course in black and emerald silk. Very fun. We can make something like this here on the channel if you'd like to see that sometime. But seeing as these are just me-made hats, they don't deserve the same attention, I guess, as the vintage ones. But I will go ahead and put these back into here, I suppose. So this one is a black moire little hat that's covered with this, again, rainbow striped ribbon because it's me. And as we've clarified during this whole thing, I do love a rainbow situation. But this is just this big bow on the top of it. I do believe I made this like for a blog post series on my blog, so I will link that below in the description as well if you want to see how I made this one. I never bothered to line it, no surprise there. But this hat here is an 18th century Bergère hat again. But this one is a silk covered one that I made myself. This one is just a wired buckram construction hat, just like, again, I made that bonnet for my Victorian costume, but this one is a lovely 18th century hat that, again, I would totally wear with like 1940s to 50s suiting. I'm sure I have sometimes. I actually have worn this with like a pirate costume. I've worn this with a lot over the years. I made this many years ago, like maybe while I was still in college, like a long time ago. And I made this little velvet, similar one again. Same again, buckram and wire construction. This one's covered in cotton velveteen, and the other side as well. And just has pinched ribbon on it. Again, kind of a Marie Antoinette, the film, inspired hat here. But this one is a Dupioni silk. And you know how long ago I made this is when they still carried this lightweight Dupioni silk at Joann's, because that's where I got this fabric, I'm sure. And I got these little fun trimmings at Allen's Millinery and Bridal. It's a store here in Denver that I haven't been to in a very long time, and I hope that they're still there after this pandemic, because I would love to go back and buy more hat trimmings. They have a lot of vintage trim at that place and vintage flowers. It's a very good store if you're into hats or vintage sewing or millinery materials at all. It's probably the nicest fabric shop left in all of Colorado. Allen's Bridal, I will link to them in the description of this. I actually worked there for a summer one time, and the lady who owns it was very nice. So I basically worked there one day a week for fabric money, honestly. Here's another, you can tell I like a shallow crowned boater kind of hat. This one's like very much a boater shape, kind of actually nicely finished on the inside. And then this is actually millinery straw from a different hat that I made in university, stitched on here. This one I probably made in like 2013, 2014, a long time ago. And this is vintage silk millinery netting on here that, again, I purchased at Allen's. So you can get vintage millinery materials there, or at least you used to be able to. So this is a very fun little linen boater to wear in the summertime. And this one I've actually never worn, but I do think it is quite cute. I made this hat and I haven't worn it yet. Again, not fully lined because it's me, but I really like these vintage millinery flowers on here, and the blue and white is quite cute. It would be cute with a white dress. I should really, or like a navy blue dress. I should try and wear this summer if I'm allowed to leave the house. And we can go ahead and put my fall hat in here too. So the good news is that this box isn't fully full, so I can keep making some more hats. Actually, I should put my bonnet from the cicada gown in here. But the bad news is I only managed to let go of one hat that I'll be putting into the Etsy shop. I do have a few other hats that I need to list on Etsy as well, that are just like redundant in my collection, so I can go ahead and let them go. So I do have a few hats that will be coming to the stock, or the Etsy shop restock, which will be happening hopefully in like end of May, early June, by the way. I know people have been waiting for that since my closet clear out, but it just is a ton of work, and I have to make, you know, videos and do other things most of the time, so I don't really have time to set aside and just do the Etsy restock because I'm busy making videos and stuff instead. So it's hard to fit it all in, but I will eventually be restocking the shop, and I will do an announcement here when that happens, and there will be a couple of hats, including that one with the floral trim straw hat, in that restock. So that is my entire collection of vintage hats as it stands right now. Sometimes there are new additions, of course, and hopefully I may have been able to deaccession something, but I highly doubt it. I really do love hats. They're just slightly ridiculous, and they're so much fun. If you've never worn a hat, I recommend, you know, people ask me all the time for advice about like, how do you wear hats? And I think they mean from like a social perspective, how do you like have the courage almost to wear a hat? How do you get away with it? Or I wish I could be a hat lady. And like, you just gotta wear them out and about, you know, you just gotta do it. I can't tell you that people aren't gonna look at you funny. They will. But like now at this point, you could be anonymous wearing a hat, because you can have a mask covering most of your face and a hat covering most of your head, and you can just be like some sort of... I always feel like a bank robber in an old cartoon every time I put my mask on before I walk into somewhere. So, you know, you just sort of feel like some sort of a supervillain anyway. You might as well top it off with something fabulous. If you want to know more about my hat collecting strategies and advice surrounding hats in general, I will go ahead and put a card and a link in the description to my other hat collecting video here on the channel, where I go ahead and talk in detail about how I keep the hats on my head and where I find them, how I shop for them, how I wear them, hat etiquette, things like that are all included in that video, so I'll go ahead and link to that as well. And thank you, as always, for hanging out with me here today. I know this was probably one of my longer videos, and that is saying something, but I will see you all again here real soon. Bye.